Right, so we're live. Just waiting for my good friend Nadine Searle to join me. I'm Trish Campbell, and Nadine is going to join me, and we're going to have one of our chit chats, Love Me Chit Chats. And we are having this, we always have these usually around the new moon, but today it's falling on the day of the peak of the new moon. And yeah, this energy is powerful and potent, and I know I'm feeling it, wondering if you are too, with everything that's going on in the world right now. Don't want to get too much into it until she joins us. So, yeah, we'll just wait and see here if she's going to pop in. Have a few people joining in the chat. Hello. And maybe I will get started. So I was going to try to hold off on talking about like just the energies that are going on right now, everything that's happening in the world, and it just feels so dark, intense, and really, I think one of the most important things we can do amidst all of this is to not lose sight of like what's important in our lives. And anytime there's anything that's like dark or sad, or there's collective grief, you know, what we can do, because we kind of go, well, what can I do in those moments? And what we can do is really go inward and tend to our inner world, because that is going to then emanate out into our outer world and create that. Here's Nadine. Let me just let her in. Just wait for 1 second, because it always cuts out the audio when she joins or when somebody joins. Let's see. There we go. Hi, Nadine.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Good, I'm good. I'm just trying to adjust
Okay.
myself.
I feel like I'm a little bit on the slanted here, but
A
maybe
little
that
bit,
just goes with how
a
things
little
are
bit.
right now.
I do. Sometimes I can't even.
So that's funny. I was just talking, not getting too deep into it, just about everything that's happening in the physical world right now, like reality, our reality, everything that feels like intense and even dark, and this collective grief that, like, again, we're experiencing probably on a new level, or it just feels like we don't know. There's uncertainty, but with everything happening and how we can, like, I think a lot of when that happens, what comes to mind is like, well, what can I do? Like, to help
Mm,
somebody or help the situation or do about the situation. And I think one of the most important things we can do is tend to our inner world, and to remember also what's most important in our lives. And I think
mm,
it's like these things happen and they kind of remind us what's important. I mean, don't you
yeah,
agree with that?
they really do, don't they? And you're absolutely right. When these things happen and they unsettle us, and that whole
Mm-hmm.
world, we've got stuff, planetary stuff going on, which you obviously know much better, understand much more than I do, but I feel it. It's unsettling, but also, what's going on in the world is quite scary, isn't it? And a little bit
Mm-hmm.
unsettling. And I know my go-to is I try and go, what can I do to control it, to try and make it
Mm-hmm.
right, to try and do that. No, that's too big for me. I can't do that.
Right.
And then it does come back to what can I do to look after myself?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do as well? I think, what can I do to make myself feel positive and happy? Because you can get caught up in the doom and the gloom and the fear, that kind
Right.
of thing. And I don't want to be sitting there. And I'm going to say the balance, because we're going to talk about balance, aren't we? The balance then of balancing that feeling of the looking after yourself,
Right.
and wanting to help others and make things right, if you like. And that's the way I feel sometimes. And then that sits quite often with a bit of guilt, doesn't it? Going, well,
Mm-hmm.
actually, I'm okay and everything's all right, but other people aren't.
Right.
And recognizing that, and the compassion does come out, much as I try not to watch the news and get too involved, because I don't want to, as I said, I don't want to be in that place of doom and fear and everything. But It is the reality, isn't it? I don't think anyone can escape from what's going on worldwide. And it's big, isn't it? It's massive, and it is balancing, isn't it?
It
How do we sit with that? Where do we sit? Where is our place, our point of balance, if you like,
right.
of being aware maybe and actually distancing yourself a little bit as well? Because we have the luxury that we can. It isn't, luckily, at the moment, it's not on our doorstep, is it? But it could
Well,
be, couldn't it?
and I mean, it is, and I mean, there's so many different things going on, and I know, like, yeah, like personally speaking, I mean, I just know, like, we have war going on, and that is intensifying. We have
Mm,
I guess a natural disaster situation in the U.S. right now, and all of these things, like, and we always, I was just saying before you came on, like, try to center these around the new moon, and I didn't really get into why, in case somebody's listening to one of these for the first time, because I
mm,
didn't want to get too much into the details before you
yeah.
joined, so we can talk about this together. But like, today is the new moon. It's also a solar eclipse, and with eclipses, eclipses are about big, sudden, swift change. A lot of times, it feels like with an eclipse that, and this is a solar eclipse. It's also there's so many details and nuances to it, but it's also conjunct the south node, and eclipses always happen on a nodal axis, south, north, and south node. South node is where we've been, our comfort zone, what we've come into this world knowing, and kind of
Right.
like what we already know, and it has to do with a lot of our past, like been there, done that kind of thing. And north node is our destiny, where we're headed. So this is
Okay.
really a lot of the energy around what we've done before. We've been here before. What are we doing that, like, why are we still doing the same old? And I think a lot of this energy right now can speak to that kind of, like, I will use the word destruction, keeps coming up in my mind and heart, because in order to have something new, the old has to be destroyed. You have to
Yes.
destroy
Yes.
old ways, like they say that saying, and I said it in my post about our chit chat, like, old, we need to like, let go of the old ways so we can open those new doors. It sounds cliche,
Mhm.
but it's like, really, all these things that we're talking about, and we talk about the new moon, and it means new beginnings, and solar eclipses, yeah, they bring that sudden, swift change, but it's centered around usually a beginning versus a lunar eclipse, which is an ending.
Right.
So there's so many nuances to this, but like, and it's not just to say, okay, it's a new beginning, but really think about, we talk about this to really then invite people to think about what this means in their own life.
Yes.
Like
Mm.
for myself, I know this new moon is happening at the very degree where I was born in my natal chart. So it's like, it's my moon sign is Libra. It's in my first house of identity and self-expression and all of those things. So I can then connect the dots to, well, how it's impacting me in my life. And it makes, I always say, astrology makes life make sense. I'm not saying you have to live and breathe and,
No.
do everything based on astrology. We have free will, but it's a blueprint of our potential in our life and what we can
Mm.
make of it. And a lot of times we don't want to go there because our potential scares us. And
Yes.
yeah, like,
Yes.
there's just, but
Yeah.
there, it does speak to the collective energy happening right now of this sudden, swift change, of this explosive energy, literally, that we're experiencing, kind of like coming in and sweeping away the old, and to make space for new. We can't build the new on top of the old. We need to, like, dismantle that first, and
Clear it.
that's
Yeah. Clear it.
what's
Mm.
happening right now. Even though it
Yeah.
feels scary, like you said, there's a lot of fear.
Mm.
There's a lot
Mm.
of fear, but
Mm.
we can acknowledge that and not let it direct everything we do. Like we've talked about, like, that's why I'm saying it's
Yes.
not
Yes.
selfish to tend to your inner world, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to make a difference out there in the world, is to take care of yourself first.
Yes.
Get yourself set, like, right first, before you can do anything of, you know, sustainably. Can I speak? Sustainably, out there in the world, that's not going to be just like a surface level, kind of virtue signal or whatever. It's
Mhm.
really tending to that inner world. That's also scary. for people.
It is, isn't it? And we've talked about this so many times, haven't we?
Yeah.
You know, feel those feelings, lean into it, don't be scared of it and everything. And I've admitted so many times how scared I used to be of my own feelings. I
Mhm.
still can be. There's still that little tendency to go, oh, I don't want to feel, I just said it, didn't I? I don't want to feel the doom and gloom. I don't want to be sad. You know, it's okay to do that because for a
Yeah.
start, I know now it's a real truth that these feelings, no feelings last forever. So even if I dip down, I'm going to come back up. I know that. Again, that's balancing, isn't it? But you said about the destruction, and that really hit home to me because that is reality is happening. There is destruction.
Hmm.
But there also is that hope, isn't there? That actually, when something is destroyed, something new can grow, can't the phoenix
Always.
rise, that kind of thing, you know. And it is true, isn't it? With, like you say, letting go of our past, that kind of thing. We need to destroy it, if you like, because otherwise it's going to still keep coming up, isn't it? You know. And so for us personally to look at our habits, patterns, old stories, that kind of thing, we do sometimes need to destroy. And as I've shared so many times with people, I have my new moon and my full moon rituals, and I burn things at the full moon to release and let go.
Hmm.
So that's
It
destruction, isn't it? You know, I'm
is.
destroying something. And
Yes.
sometimes it's as simple as just writing something down on a bit of paper that I want to let go of, or something that is in the past that I want to
Right.
release, or get rid of. You know, I will just simply do that, write it down, put it in the fire, watch it go. That's powerful. And that's exactly, well, not exactly, it's an example of what you were saying, isn't it? About destruction. And then
Hmm.
something new. Because till I let that old stuff go in whatever shape or form, and as I say, it's powerful for me, it's visual and it's really a feeling, actual thing to do to burn something in a fire. I have to say to everyone, I do it outside. I'll do it safely.
Yeah.
But it is, for me, that's real, and it's a powerful way of really letting something go. Once I've gone through that ritual, then I
Yeah.
have done what I need to do. And then I can be, you know, like you say, you've got that new clean slate, if you like, just to rebuild and to start again. So I love that you explained it all in that way. And the planets, like you've always said, we don't have to be in tune. We tend to sometimes fight it, even if we don't understand it, we
Hmm.
resist it. But it's there to support us, isn't it? All of these things are there for the good.
Right.
Uh, and that's a lovely thing to remember, isn't it? That everything is there to support us if we choose to use it that way, or we can just not know, but it's happening anyway. So whatever way we want to do it is fine, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm,
And
mm,
I want to go back to a second for like just to kind of emphasize or highlight like what you just shared about that practice of letting something go. I mean, we hear about, people do this and then maybe it's not something that we're familiar with to do ourselves, but these are the things that we actually, because like we can, for example, everything that's going on in the world, or let's say, this new moon in particular is happening in Libra, which is a sign of relationships, it's a sign of balance, it's a sign of also law and order, but which we see lots of things coming down here, around that, like
mm.
the veil being lifted. So, um, but it's through these, like, I guess, physical actions, like something tangible, that we're actually making that intention. Because I mean, everything is energy, and energy is directed by intention. But if we just say, oh, I can let that go, are we really letting that go? But if you physically
Yes.
take the time to write it out and burn
Mm,
it and give it that energy
yeah.
of letting go
Yeah.
physically of something,
Yeah.
it might seem like, and I can see people like putting this as like woo woo, or like even witchcraft or whatever. All of these things, that's a narrative that was told to us to keep us away from this kind of activity
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
empowers us and gives us back control
Yeah.
over our own
Yes.
sense of being, and meant to keep us away from that. But it's like, what if we opened our minds to something different than we've been told about something, and let's just try it? I'm not saying you have to, but why
Yeah.
not? It's not going to
Mm,
hurt you. It's not going to,
yes.
and in fact,
Mm,
it will give you that physical practice of letting something go. And it doesn't
mm,
have to, it can look a different way too. It could be, you do wrap it up in a bottle and message in a bottle and throw it away, or
yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
whatever it is that you
There's
want
lots of
to make
ways.
it this
Yeah.
practice. It's taking back some sort of power, your own power. When we all have that, we've kind of also been conditioned to think it's wrong to be in our power because
Yeah. Yeah.
of course there are those that benefit from us being disempowered. So it's
Yeah.
around bringing,
Yeah.
how can, and that's like to tie in the balance, how can we bring balance to what's happening right now?
Mm,
That
mm,
is like, tending to what is personal to us, and that is bringing balance. So letting go of something that isn't serving us anymore so that we can do something different, something
yeah.
new.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so powerful, isn't it? And I'd echo what you just said then, people feel, oh, that's quite a lot to do, or will that really work? I mean, try it, see how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've got to be honest, I used to be like, can I be bothered to write something? Is it really going to do anything? Is it really going to make any difference? Writing things out for a start is very therapeutic, isn't it? You're getting things out. But
Right.
then if you actually take that physically and get rid of it in whatever shape or form, could be just cross it out. It could be that you do that, tear it up. It could be that you put it in a bottle, like you say. But do something physical, and that really helps. And as I do tapping myself, emotional freedom technique, where you tap on points as you're speaking.
Right.
That moves emotions in the body. I do it with people I work with as well, and a lot of those people go, oh really, it seems like a funny idea to start with. I've done it with you, haven't I? And it's a little bit strange,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so powerful, isn't it? And I would say all of these things, try them. Like you say, can't do any harm. But if you try and then you actually go, oh, I do feel a bit different or better or something freer,
Mm-hmm.
um, then it's worth it, isn't it? And this is where I feel, and you must have been the same, Trish, once upon a time, all of the things we talk about quite readily
Right.
were new to us too, weren't they? And we go, really? Is that really going to work? We hear about someone else doing something or someone suggests something. And I've been very resistant to try lots of things. And I know now the things that I do as practices that work for me, they probably do sound very strange to people that have never heard them before, because they did
Mm-hmm.
to me once upon a time. So anything that we talk about, I would say to anyone, just dip your toe in, try a little bit, and just see how you feel, and give yourself that space and time to really, again, what we say so often, feel those feelings,
Right.
because sometimes they do feel uncomfortable to start with, don't they? But
Yep.
that doesn't mean it's wrong, and it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Sometimes we do need to feel,
We
like you say, disrupted, broken down, if you like, and then we build up again.
Exactly. And I'm going back to like thinking about like what you just shared about the process of writing and myself
Mm.
writing the book, and like
Yeah,
we talk about like these, we call them the Love Me Chit Chats because they started because you wanted to go deeper with the book, and
exactly.
before this you and I were chatting and we're like we don't really have anything that we're
Yeah,
connecting in directly, but it doesn't matter. And also like the very first chapter of this book that I wrote is grief, and
yeah.
grief can look in so many different ways. And
Mm.
it's like I think back to what you said about writing and getting it out. And I think one of the most powerful things we can do for ourselves is to share our story. And everyone's story is unique. And
Yeah.
so a lot of people are held back because they're like, why would it matter if I wrote anything down? Even if you just write it down for yourself. But then the next level of that, so that's therapeutic on its own. But then the next level is to share that story with
Yes,
other
yes.
people. And you and I both know the power of that because you have shared so much about your experience going through your breast cancer
Yeah, yeah.
experience and treatment and all the things that you've gone through, up good
Mm.
and bad. Like, the real picture of like real, what you were actually going through and how powerful that is.
Mm.
And then not only that, but how powerful that is on the receiving end of that when other people hear your story
Yes,
and
yeah.
my story or whoever's sharing their story, and they say, oh, me too. They can pick,
That's,
it might not be exactly the same, but there's
that's the
parallels. There's
thing.
certain little
Yeah,
things they can say, wow, I really
yeah.
feel seen and heard.
Mm.
And how healing is that? Like,
Yes,
how
yeah,
empowering is
yeah.
that to feel seen and heard?
Yes.
And I mean, that's one of our most basic needs as human beings.
It,
And we
it
kind
is,
of fluff it
yeah.
off like we don't need it, but
We
we
do,
do.
we do, and we play that down because it almost feels a bit needy, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
it's something we know I was taught not to be like that when I was growing up, and I'm not, you know, I still struggle with it. You know, you've encouraged me to share and be open and honest and vulnerable and everything. And it does do me so much good. But as we always say, we know it does other people good too. And you are, you know, you're living proof of this. You wrote it all down. You put all your feelings out there. You must have felt uncomfortable at times doing this and putting it out there. You must have felt that actually some things, you know, oh, I've got it out. You can let it go. You know, there must have been release in that too. But we know, don't we, how many other people have read bits here and they comment, don't they? And they say, oh, that, like you say, me too, that's me, I relate. Someone else feels like that. They feel heard and validated then,
Yeah.
don't they? Even if they didn't admit it, they
Yeah.
do. Never mind what they would do if they wrote their own story. And I believe everybody, you know, has a story. Everyone is of value. Everyone is interesting. You know, everyone we can relate to, that connection. You know, I feel connected to you because of reading the book. I feel connected to you because of these chit chats we have, because of all of our communication, the ways that we do. Never met in real life, but you know what a connection we have is
Yeah. It's very
absolutely
powerful.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
isn't it? You know, so we have connected in this way, partly because you share so much and because I share so much. You know, if we didn't share, then we wouldn't have that connection.
Yeah.
So it's so valuable, and I can't underestimate it enough. But you know, and I'm sure other people that listen regularly, I have fear and I have resistance to being open and vulnerable. And, you know, I try very hard to be honest all the time, but I do want to hide sometimes. I'm scared. It's nice to have that encouragement all the time. And, you know, I said to you, didn't I, when I first heard about this book, you're really brave, aren't you? You know, to write things down. And when I read it, then of course thinking even more, oh goodness, how did you do that? Which is where it all came from, isn't it? When I started asking you questions and we said, there's other people that want to know answers to this. So that's
Yeah.
what's in there. And there's tons. And I actually, as I was flicking through, we're talking about balance and all kinds of things, aren't we, today? And talking about how we balance almost our own needs with the needs of the people around
Right.
us. That's something that we've talked about personally, haven't we? And I'd just like to just a little quote from here, actually, if I may, because it was something I just flicked through. As I say, this book speaks to me, and it points out what I need to know. And let me just read. There's only 3 lines, and it says, "How much time do we spend trying to prove our worth in this materialistic system, rather than simply being who we naturally are, with intention as our compass?"
Mm.
Now, I've just got chills. I read that before we came live, but I've read it again out loud, The Power. I've got real chills about that, because how true is that? You know, we're trying so hard all the time to fit in with other people's ideas and do what we think we should be doing, you know, when actually we can just keep it really simple, tune into ourselves, tune into our intuition, and do what we want to do and what we need to do for ourselves.
It's
So
I can't
simple.
believe you pulled that out, because I literally was just saying this morning to somebody, um, you know, why, like, let go of conforming, let go of needing to show up a certain way, let go
Yeah,
of, you know, like we create our own suffering by doing that. And there's enough suffering created for us that we don't
yeah,
need to create our own
yeah,
I mean, anymore. I'll say anymore, because like we all do it, and like we will continue to have to be confronted with opportunities to let go of our own suffering, to kind of say,
yeah,
hey, I don't need to do this. I don't need, like,
yeah,
I am just going to show up as I am. You know, this is who I am, and I'm not going to, you know, need, like, I guess, and I can't remember what I need to go back and find the context of what I wrote that on, but so often I'm not the only one. We self-sacrifice. We let go of what we need for ourselves to do something to please other
yes,
people.
yeah,
And that is so the energy that we're in right now with this Libra. We're in Libra
mm,
equinox, we've just
mm,
passed, and we're in Libra season, but Libra new moon. And when we're in a season of a sign, we tend to, those characteristics of that sign are amplified for all of us. And for it will show up in different ways depending on what our chart is, like where it is in our chart, different areas of life. But relationships is also, like I mentioned before, around is the Libra energy. So it's like where that people pleasing energy is
mm,
prevalent in
mm,
Libra energy.
mm,
And so where can we find balance around that? Like you
yes,
said, around, you know, tending to our inner world, all of that. And also, you know, finding balance with meeting other people's needs and expectations and all of
mm,
that, and not lose
mm,
ourselves in that. And I spoke to that in my post around, because this is hitting my first house and around my identity and self-expression, and then tied in with relationships. And I know this about myself, like, how can I not lose myself in relationship to somebody,
Yes. Yeah.
whether it's romantic, work related,
Yes.
family, friends,
Yes.
community,
Yes.
whatever. How can
Mm.
I still be me? How can I still show up for me and show up for you? The we versus me kind of
And
thing.
that's
And
the balance,
yeah.
isn't it? Because we do want to show up for others because we care and we want to, and that's part of life,
Hmm.
isn't it? But we do need to get that balance, don't we? And make sure that we're looking after ourselves and showing up for ourselves too.
Right.
And that isn't always easy, is it? And you say it, one of the things, and I've quoted it before, it's in your book, shaving off a bit
Hmm.
of myself to fit in. That was such a descriptive way of putting it. And I think, how many times do we do that? And I'm aware of it so much now, but I still find myself doing it sometimes, and it's keeping that check and going, giving yourself. And I think one of the ways to manage it is to actually go, I can just step back for a moment, recognize it, and decide how I want to be. You don't have
Right.
to just keep going because you started it that way. It's boundaries, isn't it? It's saying no, that
Hmm.
kind of thing, and being certain of that. And that actually, that little couple of lines that I wrote was in your chapter, Universal Interlude. And
Oh, oh,
I'm just, yeah, exactly. And I'm just going, this is what we're talking about, the universe, the planets, everything is interlude, whatever you want to call it. It's the power that it has, the effect it has on us. And that's exactly what you're describing. So obviously that little bit popped up for me. And there's just another little bit I'd love to quote, because it's a quote from Marilyn Monroe, who I absolutely
mm,
adore. And it says, a woman knows by intuition or instinct what is best for herself.
yes, that's one of my
Do
favorites.
you
Yeah.
Isn't it just perfect? So, so perfect, because we're just saying that we know, but do we listen? Do we trust ourselves? Do we act on what we want to do for ourselves, what we know?
Yeah.
And often we don't we? So again, I'd like to just say, anyone who's listening to
Hmm.
this, replay or live or whatever, please take a moment to just go. I say it all the time, don't you? You can do it in a few breaths. What do I want? What do I need? And your heart will tell you, because we do know. We do know,
We
but we don't
do.
listen.
We don't
Yeah.
listen to it. And I want to go back to that, because the Marilyn Monroe quote, she says a woman knows, and a woman does know, but also here's another thing I want to, like, kind of unpack too, because the intuition is not just women's intuition, as we've been, conditioned to believe.
No.
Everyone has that ability, but
Yes.
for on the masculine side, it's been shut down in order to,
Mm-hmm.
like, conform.
Mm.
Again, we're all here to play a part
Yeah.
in society.
Mm.
We'll just leave it at that. But
Mm.
but so we all have that ability to tap into our intuition, to sit with ourselves, like you just said, and invite ourselves into that conversation. What is my intuition saying to me? Whether
Yeah.
we're man or woman, however we
Yeah.
identify,
Every
from that perspective.
everything.
And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is so powerful. And, like, I think we've all been kind of steered away from that, and now is the time to, I mean, we've been talking about this for a while, but, like, more and more people are coming back to that realization that there's something powerful here that's inside of us that we can lean into and use for our
Yeah.
benefit.
Mm. Like you say, for absolutely everyone is. I've just noticed someone's joined us. Hello, thank you for joining us. If you've got anything you'd like to add to this, any perspective or questions, then please type something in, because we will see. But thank you for joining us live. I love it. But you're absolutely right. Whoever it is, and again, we quite often feel uncomfortable, don't we, when we actually stop pleasing other
Right.
people and say, hang on a minute, I just need to check in with me. Can I just check in with me? How many people say that out loud? They don't, do
No.
they? And you don't have to say it, you don't have to state it, but you do need to do it. And again, I'd say to people, just try it. You take a few moments, breathe. I always close my eyes and put my hands on my heart and just go, and I say it out loud, what do I want? What do I
Hmm.
need? And if I give myself that space and time, I quite often say it a few times. The breathing changes, you slow down, you go into yourself, you feel your heartbeat, you feel your breath slowing down, and then something comes up. And that sometimes is a bit uncomfortable. If you've never done it before, it's
Right.
uncomfortable. But again, try it, see how you feel, and the more you do things, then you get more comfortable, don't you? And this is something we know from
Hmm.
practice that we do. But it is something, and again, that just the wisdom that we all have. And I always say, don't I, going back to, when we're little children, we're so into ourselves. We know these things. No one has to say, put your hand on your heart and breathe and do what you want to do, because little children do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we change, don't we, as we grow, and it's conformity, it's all sorts of things, isn't it? But that balance of going, yes, when you're teaching children things, they are arguing, aren't they go, no, I don't want to do what you want, I want to
Right.
do
I
what I
want to
want.
do.
And there's that
Yeah.
attitude, there's that balance, isn't there, going out. And then they learn sometimes, actually, there's compromise we need to do, we need to get that balance, and sometimes it goes too far the other way, doesn't it? And I would again encourage everyone to go back to the child in themselves and go, do what you want, have little tantrums every now and again if you want to, because it's okay. It's looking after you, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's looking after number one, which is so, so important, isn't it? To not get caught up in what everyone else wants you to do. And unfortunately, sometimes that's what we do to children, isn't it? We will say, actually, you need to do what I want you to do. And I would argue the toss, if you like, and that's probably an English expression that doesn't sit right with you, but argue about it and go, well, why do they have to do what we want them to do?
Right. And
But if we're taught that when we're little, then it stays, doesn't
it
it?
stays. We're
So
so
you,
easy.
yeah,
That's when we're most vulnerable to conditioning, and we
mm,
just so it sticks with us our entire life, and
mm,
it's something that's there our entire life. It's hard to unpack, dismantle that within us. So it's like you have to keep coming back and reminding yourself it's okay to give yourself that time, that space to just ask yourself what you need.
yeah,
And we have this narrative or this stigma around like, selfishness and like self-centered. And there is a
mm,
difference there. But if we focus on what it is we need and we give it to ourselves, we're less likely to go out and hurt somebody else emotionally. Or, it all starts, everything starts within us. Like the change that we want, like we don't want war, or most people
no,
don't. We don't want anything, destruction and all. I mean, we want to evolve and grow in all the positive things, but first we have to tend to that within ourselves. And sometimes it feels awkward because we haven't given ourselves, we haven't been allowed to give ourselves that
yeah,
space to
yeah,
just be and listen to what's going on
yeah,
internally. And I think it's so important what you've just like invited people to do, and to give them that is like such a powerful tool right
mhm,
there that
mhm,
you can always come back to.
yeah,
um,
yeah,
and that time and space for yourself is going to improve everything, that everyone and everything you relate to externally. So that's what this is all about. Like
that's the
it's
thing,
not
isn't it?
just about yourself, it's about what you can
Yes,
then take forward and apply it to
yeah,
your interactions, your action out
yeah.
in the world.
Yeah, and it is so true, isn't it, that actually anything you do for yourself has that
Right.
ripple out effect, that it will benefit people too. And again, people don't recognise that enough, I don't think. They do think, oh, I can't do that because that's being selfish, but actually not realising that that is the way to go forward, isn't it? Because the more you look after yourself, the more you do, in effect, look after everyone else. If everyone's looking after themselves very well, there'll
Mm-hmm.
be no trouble. We won't have problems in the world because everyone's looking after themselves properly. And then that does radiate, doesn't it? And that, I might not have explained that properly, but that is the gist of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
And I think
Okay.
as you're saying this, it just like I just had a thought around, like I hear so many people say, oh, the world these days, or like the world is just so crazy. And like, I just can't believe like the way people are now. It's because we've abandoned ourselves, and we
Mm.
have just like given so much to prove our worth in society, to prove ourselves to other people, that we've let go of who we are,
Yeah,
so that we're showing up as like, fractions of ourselves. Like I said in my book, I shaved off pieces of myself. Like I use that word shaving because you can use the visual
I
of
get
like
it. Yeah,
gradually
yeah,
shaving down
yes,
pieces of yourself, because
yeah,
it's so subtle we don't even realize we're doing it.
yes, yeah,
So
yeah.
that is,
It's
it's
such a
like,
good
yeah,
description. So, so
yeah,
powerful, isn't it? And you're absolutely right. We are so caught up in what we think we should be doing for other people that it is hard to stop doing that, and it's also hard then to tune into what you need for yourself because it is uncomfortable. And I think,
Right.
and I want to ask you actually, because it just came to mind when you said that, you know, how many people, when you suggest these kinds of things to them, and we both do in our work, don't we, to try and help people, they say, oh, I haven't got time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I haven't got time.
I don't
I
have
haven't got
time for
time
that
to
right
take,
now.
you know, I
Yeah.
haven't got time to take a few breaths and actually tune into me. I haven't got time to write something down and maybe get rid of it in whatever way we decide to. You know, I haven't got time to give myself time. And this is the thing as well, isn't it? That actually that is because we are doing something for someone else, maybe. You know, we
Yep.
haven't got time because someone else wants me to do
Mm-hmm.
something. Oh, I used to be like it. I can still be like it now. Actually, I can't fit that in. And then I go, actually, why can't I fit that in? Because I'm doing something for somebody else,
Yeah.
serving someone else, if you like. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, that balance. You know, yes, we are here to live in a world with other people and cooperate, but also we're here for ourselves, and getting that balance of making sure we're doing enough for ourselves. And of course, we're going to do things for other people. You're smiling. I love it when you
I
do
know, because
that.
you're speaking to me. I'm receiving what you're saying. I needed to hear that. You're so, that's why I love you, Nadine. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
bless
so,
you. Bless you. I love it. I love it. It's just, isn't it
yeah.
right though? We
Yeah.
hear what we need to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, how many times do you get a client come to you and they come to you with a specific problem, and then you go, I needed that reminder.
I needed it.
All
Yeah.
the time you get it, don't you? You know, when someone comes to you and it's that's what I love about the universe and how it provides, because then you just go, oh goodness, you know, who's helping who?
Mm-hmm.
Who's doing what? When you look at it that way, and I have a selfish eye, quite honestly, and I'm not saying selfish in a bad way. I do look at things and I go, well, that really benefited me. You know, and I do, and I appreciate those things. I notice them, and I really am grateful for them,
And there's nothing
because
wrong with that.
there's nothing, no, exactly,
No.
there's nothing wrong with that, is there? And going back to little children, that's how their world is, isn't it? It's all about me,
This is what we've
and
been taught. It's bad to benefit from something. Like, why? Like, why?
it's not,
Why have we been
it's
taught that?
yeah,
Because there's only benefit, or we're living in a system that benefits only a few,
mm,
but we're
mm,
the ones that are contributing to that benefit for those few people. And so
yes,
we've been taught that benefiting ourselves is a bad thing. And
mm,
I'm not saying like all the benefit should go to us. I'm saying that, but we are worthy from our birth
yes,
just by being of
yes,
benefiting from
yes,
things that we do
yes,
ourselves. Like,
yes,
come on.
yeah,
How simple
yeah,
is
exactly.
that? And
And what
I'm guilty. I'm
yeah,
I'm I'm guilty of that too. Of like believing that, oh, but I'm benefiting. It's not good because I'm benefiting from this. Like,
that's the thing, isn't it? We've got that go-to,
yeah,
haven't we? Oh, we can't do that. So that's what I would like to encourage everyone to just be a little bit more, sit with that a few more times, and get a little bit more comfortable with actually choosing something that benefits you, or even just recognizing actually that did benefit me. I've said it
right.
again, you know, so many times that I was reluctant to share what I was going through with my cancer and the things that I wasn't comfortable with, and you encouraged me to. And the benefit that I have got from that, never mind, we know it helps other people too, you know, but personally, not sitting in shame, not hiding, not you know, just putting things away and
Right.
thinking no one wants to know. That has helped me massively. It's benefited me. You encouraged me. You knew it would. I wasn't so sure, and it was very uncomfortable for me. It still can be at times, but I still do it because I know how much it does me good. So I'm
Yes.
sitting in a little bit of uncomfortableness for a moment, but again, balance. You know, that balance is out then to go, then I get the return and I go, yeah, that was good to do. That was good for me. It was a good thing to do. And like we say, we get the feedback from people. We know it helps other people too. So win-win, isn't it? So that again that's quite a selfish thing for me to do. I'll share this. I'll get something out. Like when I just read your words from your
Mm-hmm.
book, the power for me, and I can't say enough, when I say something out loud, the power is
Mm-hmm.
immeasurable. So when I am actually doing like a live, if I'm sharing something, you did a lovely interview with me, didn't you, talking about where I was at one point, you know, we need to do another update actually at some point.
Yeah. Let's do
But
that.
that that was just so beneficial, just
Mm-hmm.
sitting there talking to someone who I trust, who holds that lovely space for me, sharing what I'm feeling and what I'm going through, did me so much good, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that is wonderful. But you know, when I look back, I wouldn't have done that years ago. I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. And
So I'm
imagine, like,
yeah,
I just want to say, imagine if you hadn't, like, living, going through that experience and the guilt and shame of it all versus going through that experience and sharing it and being empowered because of
mm,
it, because of that
mm,
sharing. And then how you show up differently in the world now because you've shared that, because
mm.
you've helped yourself, but then that helping yourself ultimately benefits all beings. That's the
Yes,
goal. And so
yeah,
that's like, I mean, that's so powerful right there. Versus you
yeah.
showing up in guilt and shame. How is that benefiting
Mm,
anybody? It's
mm.
not.
This is the thing, and to be honest, Trish, I know for a fact if I had stayed in that model, if you like, that way of being, um, it would have actually done me physical harm. I don't think my
Yeah,
healing would have been so good. You know,
right.
my positivity definitely would have been. And we do know the physical and the mind are so
It is.
connected. So actually just stepping out of that, and I have a sort of childhood pattern, if you like, of shame and secrets and that kind of thing, you know. So that was my
Mm-hmm.
go-to. But as I say, with your encouragement and lots of other people, you know,
Yeah.
it's a big thing. This is a collective. You know, I've been healed by so many people and helped by so many
Mm-hmm.
people. And I'm so, so grateful. But it is very much for me that um, I know for a fact, I really know, I can't state it enough, and whether people get it or not is irrelevant, you know, really, because, you know, it's me. But it is, I know for a fact, you know, it's helped my healing, it's helped my positivity, it's helped my mindset, it's helped my physical symptoms. You know, I'm not saying that you've still gone through rotten times and everything, but people say to me all the time, oh, you've been so positive, you're doing so well and everything. And I go, yeah, thank you, because
Mm-hmm.
I am. You know, it's not just me. Of course, there's the medical side of it too, without a doubt, you know. But I have been so supported through this by so many people. And as I say, that's saying it out loud, as opposed to being the old way I
Mm-hmm.
was. I know it's 100% how much that has helped me physically and emotionally. And it's just a joy, isn't it, to be able to know that.
It is. And now look at what you're doing. You're helping other people who are
Yeah,
going through a similar experience.
yeah,
So, um, and I'm conscious of the time too. So I just
I
want
know.
we could talk about this forever. We always have like could go on and on and on. And I just absolutely love this conversation.
Mm.
But I'm also conscious of the
We knew,
time
we
as
knew it would
well.
be a deep one,
Yeah.
wouldn't it? So I just love that. And as I say, thank you to the people that have joined us live.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
questions, put them in, because we do look at this and we will answer them. And if you want to reach out to either one of us personally, then
Yeah.
please do. Trish's book is available on her website and all over the place, isn't it? If you want to dip into this, there's a poetry version and a meditation version, isn't there? So please do dip in. But feel free to contact us privately if you want to, because this is so it's deep, isn't it? Thank you for that comment. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you. I just feel that, yeah, it's deep and it touches so many people. So, yeah, speak to us personally if you want to, because we might have hit on a few nerves, mightn't we? So,
Yeah. So, and people can find you on, well, your website, calmerself.co.uk,
that's the one.
and all of your YouTube off. You have
Yeah.
everything so much on YouTube,
Yeah.
including our past Love Me Chit Chats
Yes.
there, but so many,
Yeah.
just so much helpful tools, meditations. I think you even have one around new moon intentions,
There is.
although this is a new moon.
Yeah.
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 Um,
There's
so
tons. Yeah, my YouTube, Calm Myself Coach, I think it's under now. But it is my YouTube channel. Look at that. There's tons on there, and all of our chit chats are on there.
yeah,
There's loads there, Trish. So
yes,
please do take a look at that, and thank you. I've just seen Rebecca coming as well, so thank you so much. But yeah, so
yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna read this out. Crazy how it takes us to be in a most vulnerable state to see who are there for us. Yeah,
Yeah,
so true. So true. Thank you for saying that, Rebecca. So, so true. And is you know, and again, that comes back to what ties in so nicely. I'm just going to say quickly to finish off, ties in quite nicely to what you said earlier about that destruction of you. You have to go right down, and then
yeah,
you really feel it, don't you? And then you feel the love and the support around you, you know. And I really have felt that massively the last couple of years. So I'm so, so grateful.
that,
So thank you for saying
yeah,
that in that way.
and that on that note, like that destruction, that grief that is around that is our greatest teacher if we like can see it that way, and to
It really is,
face
yeah.
it and face that truth and the wisdom
Mm,
that's there for us inside of
mm.
it. So we'll leave on that note, I
Amazing.
guess. I can't wait
Yes,
to do
lovely
this
voice as
again.
well.
Yeah,
Do you know, thank you so much. It's just like lovely. We knew this would be a good one, but it's been so deep,
yeah,
hasn't it? And
yeah,
I'm feeling quite
yeah,
emotional now. So thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Nadine. And we'll see
Thank you.
everyone next time. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us.
Thank you for joining
Bye.
us. Bye bye.